We got our Dunkin'. Had to walk through the drive-thru.
Hey, I'll do
because this is a
coffee.
tricky Dunkin' Donuts on a busy highway. But we're walking back to the car and we got to get to the movie, so we're going to run a little late to miss some previews. But we're going to see Antlers, finally.
What is storytelling? Storytelling started with our indigenous people. Can anyone give me an example of a myth or a story they're afraid of?
It's only been like 2 years because it got ruined from the pandemic. Its original release date. I've been looking forward to it. Colleen has no idea what it is other than a horror movie. But it's made by Scott Cooper, who made Out of the Furnace and Hostiles with Christian Bale. She did see Hostiles.
I did.
And really liked it. I mean, you like Christian Bale.
I do.
He's also known for Crazy Heart, which was his claim to fame and put him on the map with Jeff Bridges. So that I actually haven't seen myself. It's on my list. But we're gonna go see Antlers because it's his first foray into horror, and hopefully it's good.
What's going on?
We found a part of a man in the woods today.
Part of a man?
When this one tells you, I've been waiting for this movie to come out for 2 years, and he just kept saying it's a horror movie, I've been waiting 2 years, I got very concerned. I'm not gonna lie.
Concerned why?
Because of the stuff you watch, I was like, oh, if he's that excited about this movie coming out, what am I walking into? Okay, here's my take. Why are movies that are like horror movies so predictable at times? And you're like, it's not a good idea. I can't tell you how many times during the movie I was like, that's not a good idea. Yet they did it anyways, over and over and over again, every single time. And I say out loud, that's not a good idea, because we all know what's going to happen. You don't open the door. I would turn the lights on. You don't follow the noise. You don't go towards the murderer or out where you know everybody's getting slaughtered.
So there was about 3 parts that were like that for me. And my perspective is the characters, other than the lead actress.
I love
and
her.
her not turning on the light and going outside. All the other characters didn't believe in the supernatural creature. So they're just thinking it's a human still. So they're armed and they're investigating. So from that perspective, that's what I was thinking of, is like it kind of justifies it a little bit in their perspective.
I see your point. However, and this one thing that I was going to say, I'm not going to say who, but when you're somebody and you're like, oh no, I know something happened, and then you find them, like you see far away, they're face down, obviously dead. Why would you continue and proceed to that area?
Because again, that character didn't believe in a supernatural creature. They're thinking it's still a human, and they're going to help protect their partner.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You're seeing it from the perspective of, we know the creature exists because we've seen it in action as an audience.
No,
so you're like, why would you be doing that knowing the danger that's there, whereas he never witnessed any of it?
Yes, but he saw what happened to every single person. Mm-hmm. And why would you think, I'm just going to walk over there?
Because you're still thinking it's some kind of just an animal and not a supernatural, like, strong creature.
I get that, but he saw what happened to everybody else.
Yes, but what would you think would be the motivation for the character to stop that from happening to others would supersede their own? I mean, that's the definition of a hero.
Well,
is making a sacrifice of themselves. You know what I mean? Seeing that happen, they don't. No, because they think they're going to be the ones to stop it from happening to other people.
That's dumb.
They're playing the hero, But
do it.
in a Scott Cooper film, they are realistic heroes. They are heroes that are flawed. They make mistakes. They're unsure of what's going on. They're not 100% confident.
I get that.
But they still are trying to help others.
Okay, so what I would do, I would turn on lights. I would probably call for a boatload of backup when I've seen everybody else like gruesomely massacred to pieces.
Well, that was the phone call to the mayor to explain what was going on, but there wasn't time. Like, also in the film, it kind of gave you the perspective of the police officer brother and the teacher's sister, and the teacher was solving more of the investigation than the cop because he had to wait for
the logistics
warrants and, yes, the constraints of law, whereas she was like, don't have time for that. We need to help this little boy. Yeah. So, like, that...
I really like her. What's her name?
Carrie Russell.
Yes, I like Carrie Russell. Carrie Russell?
Yeah. So she like, was playing the heroine and leading...
I really
a strong female character.
I think she did an excellent job.
And not afraid because her priority was to help that child because she could relate to him from her own past.
You know what? Actually, come to think of that, they never told us what happened. Like, she would have flashbacks, and I didn't even think of that at the end of the movie. They never put her story together.
Yeah, you're supposed to understand that horrible things happened
without
without showing it on screen.
But then, like, that one scene...
The dad was insane.
Where he was tied up on the bed, like...
He wasn't tied up. He was just rocking there naked with a stuffed animal because he's insane. It's just to show that the father was crazy and abused both of the children in some way, shape, or form. It didn't dive into that detail because the main story was the current story, not that backstory.
So when they had the first flashback, I thought, okay, it's going to just come together in bits and pieces through flashbacks, and we'll kind of subline learn about her story while the main story is going up.
No,
that didn't happen.
No, it was a subplot that it was just hinted at.
Yeah.
And to get you to understand how she can relate to the child and why she's motivated to help him and put herself in danger to help him. You know what I'm saying? That's like the characterization of the story. So
I really liked her. I think she did an excellent job playing that lead role.
She's a good actress.
Except when she didn't turn on the lights.
That was one flaw that I did say is like the standard horror tropes of characters doing certain things. Now, one specific glaring issue was when the principal of the school went to the house. This is somebody who would definitely not proceed because think of any principal that you've ever known in your life.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
There's no way when they enter a house hearing commotion, and even if you hear a child...
And wouldn't call for help?
Yes, but even if you hear a child like whimpering and you're like, I need to be the one to help this child, as soon as you get to a door that's locked, dead-bolted, everything...
Screwing it.
And then you still hear a child, maybe you think that child's locked behind that door, so I still even can understand opening that door, but once you enter and there's dead carcass smell and blood smeared on the walls, flies, there's no way any principal of any school would continue entering to that space. That's one that I was like, I thought the director would be smarter than this, because his other films are like so good. Hostels and Out of the Furnace. I
don't think I've seen that.
You need to. I've watched that. It's one of those films that I watched like 3 times in a row because it's so good. Hostels, the same thing. Saw in the theaters, and then within a month, I bought it on Blu-ray, and I watched that probably 4 times because it's just almost a perfect film. Like story, writing, acting, everything. Out of the Furnace is the same way. So, and I didn't even see Crazy Heart. Crazy Heart's on my list, but that's the movie that put Scott Cooper on the map as far as being a director. But,
and don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't like this movie. I thought it was entertaining. I liked it. Your heart does like go into it for the boy and the little brother. But
and like the moment like where he's in her house when she finally takes him out of the hospital. And
this is not a spoiler.
This is in the preview.
Okay.
So, and he was like basically all of his actions was just surrounded by love. He just wanted to be loved and accepted by his dad.
I know.
So everything he
and
was
love
doing,
his brother.
the disgusting stuff he was doing that he thought was helpful to hoping just that little bit of hope that his normal dad would come back and accept and love him. Like that was the child's motivation.
But this is the thing also. At the beginning of the movie, I thought the dad was really loving. Like he was really nice to his little brother.
That is realistic. Just because somebody is like makes drugs.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. It's just the way the other, like the sheriff and the principal, like the way they were talking about him, like he was this bad person.
Because
and I'm
that's
like,
the way,
he's really nice.
Because that's the way
he loved them.
That's the whole point of characterization. So in the real world, that's why I like Scott Cooper, because his characters are so believable. The media portrays drug dealers, people who make drugs, as like scumbags and like dirtbags. They're all like, that's not necessarily the truth. They're still parents. They still may have children that they love and would do anything for. They just make some bad choices, and they could bring harm upon themselves or endanger somebody. That doesn't mean they're all the way movies and TV shows portray them. So that's why this director, like the first thing you see of the dad is like
so sweet.
A nice dad, and then he
loving.
Walks into the dark area with a flare, and then you realize what he's doing. It's like, oh, he's a meth maker.
And me, I'm like, what's he doing? What is all that?
So,
and he's like, it's meth. I'm like,
it's you just the complete contradiction where you just saw him lovingly interacting with his 7-year-old son, and then literally like give him advice on like just stay in the car, you know, because the kid heard a noise and he was scared.
Brother.
Yes, so you just see this lovingly interaction, and then immediately within a minute you're seeing the dad in this environment of where he's doing something that's not, you know, good. So
it's sad.
That's what I like about the director. There's good people in his films that do some bad things, and there's bad people who do some good things, because that's reality. Like, not everyone is truly good all the time, and not every person who's bad is bad all the time.
I know what you mean. I just was like getting angry, like, no, annoyed at the characters that were like talking badly about him, because I'm like, oh my gosh,
because they didn't know.
He was so loving.
They only know the illegal.
Don't talk badly about him.
They only see it from the law enforcement perspective. That's, again, part of why I like the director, because you saw a fleshed out character where the character of the sheriff, you're only hearing and seeing his perspective from the law enforcement side of things. And
I'm so glad, because like after all that talk about him, when the boy did that flashback that I'm not going to talk about, it was like, even then, like you could tell he just so loved his sons and wanted to protect them.
Yeah. Oh. And that's, like that's makes you heartbroken for the little boy.
Yes.
Because he's in the hospital staring out the window thinking about this, and there's nothing he can do about it.
You just feel so bad for him. And the other little brother, he had these big eyes. Oh. So, yes, I liked it. I have to say, it is incredibly gruesome and gory and bloody and guts.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's R-rated. It shows the aftermath of bodies from being attacked. It shows some attacks, not a whole lot. The Wendigo, you don't even see a ton. Like at the end, you see it more, but that's
more shadows.
Another thing. Yeah, it took an hour. I looked at my clock, and it took an hour before you actually saw the antlers appear and like the Wendigo reborn.
Yeah, like
it was very slow and slowly introducing and being creepy and atmospheric, which I kind of expected from Scott Cooper with a horror film.
There's one part at the end where like you see him all like come be that thing,
the Wendigo,
because I don't want to do a spoiler, but then at the end when he turned his head and I was like, oh no.
I was like, jackpot.
I was like, that's wrong.
There's certain things in that film that there was certain points that were homage to other films. That one had to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I can
And
see that.
also the one part where you jumped, like
Yeah.
it wasn't even a scary moment, it was just a picture taking, but
Yeah.
it was the flash of a body
Yeah.
and that noise the camera made.
The clicking of the camera. I jumped.
That was also an homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because the beginning of that film opened with that very thing of someone, the flash and that exposure noise of the camera. Compared to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's a similar style in that Texas Chainsaw Massacre slowly unfolds. Like, everyone thinks of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's this bloody, gory, like, mess of a movie, but it's not. There's actually hardly any blood. Like, this movie is actually bloodier.
Oh, yes.
But it's just the imagination and the things that they do show you in your imagination. You're actually making it worse than it is in your own head. And I could tell that Scott Cooper took some, you know, homage from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because just certain things reminded me of it. And I thought that was pretty neat.
See, I did not know that, but I still thought it was neat. And I did jump twice. I forget what the first, I forget, it was before the camera clicking one, and something just happened. I jumped.
It wasn't even supposed to be scary? Or was it when the brother came up behind her? There were a few jump scares that were intentional, but they didn't.
No,
they were
that wasn't it.
Part of the storyline, so it didn't, you know, it wasn't like fake. It didn't feel fake. It was like, you know, the brother would just show up in the room while she's like intently looking at something, you know, like any normal person would get scared in a real life situation. Where if you're like really studying something and somebody walks in and says something loud, it could startle them. So it was very realistic scares also. So, I mean, all in all, it was a very well-made movie. The cinematography was beautiful. It takes place in the Pacific Northwest. So, like, the water, the scenes with water and the trees and the forest, like, everything looked beautiful.
It's based in Oregon, and the whole time, like, that is so prominent. Like, every scene is, like, something that you would envision in Oregon, like a small town in Oregon.
It's a small mining town.
Oh, yeah, like, picture perfect.
You know, like the coal industry is dead, you know, and it's just a town that's going bankrupt. There's like, even when they showed parts of the small town, like Main Street, there was stores closed. You know, it was super realistic.
And when he'd like walk by the lake and up, like even the way, like I thought, like the detail in that little hill going up to the quarry and the size of rocks and the way he was, like his feet were crunchy on the rocks, it was just so like
the sound also. All of it was high attention to detail, which is Scott Cooper. So I would recommend it. It's not for everyone. There is some gore in it. It's a horror movie, but it has definitely a deeper storyline than a typical horror movie.
Yes.
Which is the Scott Cooper flair. Like, he's not going to direct a cheap scare horror movie. He's going to always go deeper based on, you know, the standard that he has as a filmmaker. But this was a low budget, like there was no big name. Kerry Russell was like the biggest name.
So much.
And then Plemons, I forget his first
name.
Wait,
what about Paul?
The brother.
Yeah.
He was the most recent thing you saw. He was the bad guy from Jungle Cruise, the Nazi dude.
Oh yes.
But he's in a lot of things. Like, he's a great actor, but he's not like a star yet. But he's, you know, he's good. Very versatile. Yeah, and he was believable as a small town sheriff and her brother. And
I wish he was in more.
There was a scene between the two of them in the hospital where like she flips out on him about their past, because he'll make comments, but you can tell he's still kind of guarded about their past.
Yeah,
he kind of makes comments, and she takes it one way, and then they get in a little bickering match, and she unloads him in the hospital, and then he just simply says like, "You have no idea what he did to me. You never find out," but in his face, you're like, yeah. He
did.
You're
like,
but
I was waiting for him to say like something more like, because you never even asked. Or something like that.
I think
but
that's
it just
the
dropped.
Gist. Like, and that's what got her to, you know, and then her expression was like, okay, you know what I mean? They're kind of on even playing field as what they suffered, and they deal with it in their own different ways. But, you know, that's the psychology of abuse victims and how they deal with it. But so I mean, all of that, like even the baggage, you know, the actors had to portray. So like they definitely had to find great actors to be able to handle the material, and they did. They're just not big name star actors.
Yeah. Carrie Russell used to be in a show that I
Felicity.
watched. Yes.
So one thing,
how did you even know that's what I was thinking?
because that's what she's most known for. And then she's in, I think
her
there's
hair.
a show, a Netflix show called The Americans, which is about like Nazi spies or American spies, vice versa. I don't know. I never saw it, but she's a lead role in that, a Netflix series. Because
Listen,
she's
Hollywood, you need to get on this Carrie Russell thing. She's good.
Yeah.
And people like to watch her.
And in the end, I mean, it kind of reminded me too. At the end, I thought of Ellen Ripley in Aliens, like at the end, because she was like using a flare and like things to like fight the creature at the end. So like in the dark, like the way it was lit and everything. So I don't know if that was intentional, but as I'm watching, I was like, this reminds me of Ellen Ripley in Aliens as like that strong female character saving the day.
Anyways, just go watch it.
That's going to do it for this review. I don't know what movie's going to be next, but when we make one, you'll be the first to find out.
Maybe Clifford.
I'm not watching that movie.
Joking.
I think it already came out. It's long gone. We missed 007.
So
There's
upset
just
about that.
too many things going on. The Batman, but that's not till like March. So there's probably something coming out. It's the holidays, November, December, so I'm sure something's coming out that we would see in the theaters.
Yep.
Till next time. The Last Tag.